In 2017, Nike released a shoe that changed my perception of what a racing shoe could be, and that was the Zoom X Vaporfly Elite, a shoe that would evolve to become the Vaporfly Next Percent. You see, traditionally marathon racing shoes have been as simple and as minimal as possible, but what Nike created was maximal and, from a design point of view, different from anything else available in the market. There were three things that set the Vaporfly apart, and that was a responsive midsole, a carbon fiber plate, and a well-cushioned curved geometry. What's interesting is that none of these three ingredients were new to the running scene, but they'd never been combined in one shoe before. And through combining them, Nike created the fastest elite marathon racing shoe the world had ever seen, helping athletes break many records. This traction that Nike had gained by producing a top marathon racing shoe forced all other brands to play catch-up. It took 2 to 3 years for some brands to put an option out there, but eventually they did, and we saw options like these enter the market, all with that same three-part ingredient that made the Vaporfly so successful. ASICS' initial answer to the Vaporfly, however, was a bit different. They produced a shoe called the METARACER over here, which was a great shoe, but it lacked that stack height and the responsive foam that made the Vaporfly so special. Nonetheless, it was a great shoe for shorter distances. It just wasn't competitive over marathon distances, and ASICS realized this. So a few months later, they produced a prototype for a new marathon shoe, which is what SARA wore during her phenomenal London Marathon performance. Her performance created a lot of excitement that ASICS had something good on its way. Which brings us to this shoe here, the METASPEED SKY, the final version of SARA Hall's prototype and ASICS' real answer to the Vaporfly. Could the METASPEED SKY be the top dog of marathon racing shoes at the moment? Well, we'll get to that in a sec, but let's first talk about its tech specs. So taking a look at the cross-section of the shoe, we can see that the METASPEED SKY is built with a full-length carbon fiber plate wedged within that midsole cushioning. If you follow the length of the plate, you'll notice how it gradually drops downwards and then curves upwards at the toes. And this is a little bit different than most other shoes in the market, which curve more suddenly around the midfoot. Looking at the sole of the shoe, the bottom sole is shaped with a similar curve to the carbon fiber plate and has quite a steep toe spring. Despite this, the top sole of the shoe is pretty irregular, so despite the shoe's curvature, your foot still sits pretty flat inside the shoe. Within the sole unit of the shoe, ASICS has developed a new midsole foam called Flight Foam Blast Turbo. It's quite the mouthful to say. This is a low-density nylon-based foam that's able to compress and expand very quickly to give you a springy feel while also being super light. Underfoot, the shoe is soft but not squishy and has a noticeable kickback of energy return. Part of the midsole design is sub-midsole flaring, which widens the base at the shoe at the forefoot. This is a useful feature to help make high stack height shoes more stable by giving a runner a wider base of support. Moving back to the profile of the shoe, we can see that underfoot the METASPEED SKY has a 33-28mm stack height, which is nice and cushioned for a racer, but still 7mm within World Athletics' maximum stack height limit, which shoes like the Alphafly and Adizero Adios Pro lie at. What's interesting is that the midfoot region of the METASPEED SKY is actually more cushioned than the heel of the shoe. Looking at the outsole unit of the shoe, like most other carbon fiber shoes, it's fairly minimal. There's a nice web-like pattern on the forefoot that's going to give you good grip as you run at high speeds and take corners with confidence. But as we move towards the rear of the shoe, there's less and less rubber, with no rubber crash pad on the heel. So heel strikers are going to give the shoe a hard time. As you can see on my pair, I have been doing a lot of grass running and I've really made mine dirty. But interestingly, this outsole rubber uses the same material as what ASICS have used with their new trail range, which has worked really nicely. If we move to the upper of the shoe, ASICS have kept it simple and nailed it. The material is light, soft and breathable, everything you can ask for from a racing shoe. I don't know if it's just my foot, but lacing up the shoe is just easy, and with other shoes I have to fiddle around and retie my laces to get that perfect fit. But the METASPEED SKY just fits perfectly. I did find that the METASPEED SKY ran half a size small, so if you usually size down for your races, I'd advise against it. In terms of width, I think the METASPEED SKY is one of the more accommodating shoes in the market at the moment. It's not a wide shoe, but it does give you a few more millimeters of width at the toe box, which does help accommodate various foot shapes. I have to just say that aesthetically, the METASPEED SKY is really slick and the color just pops. If you are looking for a neutral colored shoe on the market at the moment, I think you're going to have quite a hard time. If you know about the METASPEED Sky, you probably know about its sibling, the METASPEED Edge. Now, it's exactly the same shoe, except it has a lower stack height and higher drop. Now, the idea here is that if you are a runner who runs with a particularly high cadence, you may want a trimmed down version of the shoe here, just to help increase that turnover. The Sky itself does have more underfoot cushioning, so it is more bouncy, so targets that stride length runner, whereas the Edge, as I said, targets the cadence runner. It's a nice point of difference from ASICS. However, I do still feel that the Sky facilitates for both these runners, so this is where your business is at. Alright, do I think that the METASPEED Sky is faster than the Vaporfly? Now, this is a difficult question to answer, and I'll tell you why. So last year, November, Canadian marathon record holder Malindi Elmore signed a contract with Saucony. Leading up to that contract, she wanted to make sure that she wasn't at a disadvantage for wearing Saucony's carbon fiber plated offering, the Endorphin Pro, while her competitors may be wearing the Vaporfly. So she had her running economy assessed wearing both of these shoes at her marathon pace to assess whether one was significantly better than the other. The results were quite interesting. In the lab, they found that she was a tad more efficient in the Endorphin Pros than the Vaporflies at a marathon race pace. Of course, this is no more than a case study and not a perfect one either, but it does elicit the point that the benefits these shoes offer are athlete dependent, and there's not a clear favorite on the market at the moment. Another example that shows this is a study done on the Vaporfly specifically. They found that the energy saving benefits that the shoe offers compared with a traditional racing flat ranges anywhere between 1.7% to 7.2%. Now, where you fall on the spectrum may differ from your friend, and the benefit is athlete specific. However, that all being said, I do think that ASICS have designed something special in the METASPEED Sky, and the METASPEED Sky alongside the Endorphin Pro are my favorites in the market at the moment, and the two shoes that I feel fastest in. ASICS' midsole foam Flight Foam Blast Turbo is really fantastic, and it could be the best in the market at the moment. They've also impressed me with the smaller details that go into the shoe, such as its stack height feeling cushioned but not clumsy the same way other shoes do. It also corners well because of that. The shoe grips well, it fits well, and it's one of the lightest in the market. And the shape of the carbon fiber plate really gives you that forward-leaning position. All of these nuances on top of a well-built shoe are really worth something. That's my review of the METASPEED Sky. If you have a pair, let me know what you think. Otherwise, let me know what your favorite shoe on the market is at the moment. I'm curious to know. Until next time, peace.